Rushing and misconceptions overshadow omnibus law on job creation. Waskita Karya received 2 trillion rupiah loan from BNI. Good afternoon, viewers in Indonesia and Singapore. Market Headlines is ready to provide you a number of informations from business, economic, and capital market sectors. With me, Clara Antawijaya, and this is Market Headlines. Yes, viewers, rushing is the suitable word to portray the law on job creations. That was what public policy observer Agus Pambagio said. He also said that the public denial is an impact of lack communications from government to public, especially to the workers, and therefore many misconceptions has happened and turned public into anger.
After turning omnibus law on job creations into law, many denials come from public, especially from worker side. As an impact, huge mass of workers conduct strike in several regions all across Indonesia. Seeing the curiosity, public policy observer Agus Pambagio said, this is actually common thing in democratic country as a form of active participation of the people. However, he saw that governments turned the omnibus law on job creations into law too quick. The timing is not proper either, whereas Indonesia is now facing coronavirus or COVID-19 pandemic. For Agus, lawmaking in the midst of the pandemic and recession will not succeed in increasing investment because a number of countries are experiencing an economic slowdown. Things got even worse by minimum effort from government to gather stakeholders to discuss and elaborate the law proposed one by one, so that misunderstanding can be avoided at the first place.
Pertanyaan saya, kenapa sih buru-buru? Toh juga nggak ada investor mau masuk, seluruh dunia resesi. Mau ngundang sekarang, ya nanti lah habis COVID, ini kita matangkan dulu. Pro kon pasti ada, nggak mungkin mulus. Tetapi kita paham bahwa keinginan buruh seperti itu, keinginannya aktivis lingkungan seperti itu, keinginannya pengusaha seperti itu, kan itu semua.
For this reason, Agus saw that the government need to put hard work to explain the contents and allegations that the bill is not detrimental to workers and may increase investment. From Jakarta, Firmansyah for IDX Channel.
As world financial institutions predict that the global economic growth this year will be deeply corrected, Finance Minister Sri Mulyani said that the global economic recovery will depend on the escalations of COVID-19 and also vaccinations.
Various world financial institutions predict that the global economy will experience deep contraction this year. The World Bank projects the global economy to hit minus 5.2%, and next year there will be a recovery at 4.2%. Then the IMF forecasts the economy this year will be minus 4.9%, and the recovery reach 5.4% in 2021. Minister of Finance Sri Mulyani, in a meeting with a commission of 11 of House of Representatives, said that the global economy recovery is very dependent on the escalation of COVID-19 outbreak, so that the availability of vaccines and their distribution will greatly affect the global economic recovery.
Bank Dunia memperkirakan tahun ini pertumbuhan ekonomi dunia adalah minus 5,2 dan tahun depan recover di 4,2. Tahap pemulihan ekonomi dunia sangat tergantung kepada eskalasi dari COVID-19, apakah terjadi second wave, apakah tersedia vaksin dan bisa dilakukan vaksinasi, dan juga hubungan negara-negara terutama kelompok negara besar, serta efektivitas dari stimulus yang diberikan oleh berbagai negara di dunia.
With the economic recovery program, fiscal stimulus this year is estimated to require a budget deficit of 6.3%. The minister emphasized that within the fiscal deficit is the only way to contain the depth of the recession due to the impact of the pandemic which hit all sectors. From Jakarta, Fajar Wayong, for IDX Channel.
What if all state-owned enterprises in Indonesia do initial public offering? Well, Deputy Minister of State-owned Enterprises, Budi Gunadi Sadikin, predicted that government will collect endowment fund up to 480 billion US dollar, only if all state-owned enterprises do initial public offering. If it happens, it will be greater than Temasek or even equal to state-owned enterprises in Abu Dhabi.
The Indonesian government is believed to be able to obtain endowment funds from state-owned companies if all state-owned companies conduct an initial public offering or IPO. This was said by the Deputy Minister of State-owned Enterprises, Budi Gunadi Sadikin, in a virtual seminar. With the total revenue of all state enterprises reaching 2,400 trillion, it is assumed that it will get funds of up to 480 billion US dollars from the proceeds of a going public. The funds are, of course, much bigger compared to Temasek and equivalent to state-owned enterprises in Abu Dhabi.
Kalau secara teoritis kita IPO kan seluruh BUMN yang ada, dengan menggunakan standar sales to price ratio pasar sebelum COVID, pemerintah akan memiliki sesuatu institusi sovereign wealth fund yang lebih besar dari Temasek. Karena tinggal kali 3, 165 billion. Apalagi kalau BUMN-nya kinerjanya lebih baik. Itu bisa menjadi 500 billion atau 600 billion fund, sovereign wealth fund. Ya. Jauh lebih besar dari Temasek, GIC, atau mungkin udah setara dengan Abu Dhabi atau Dubai Investment Authority.
Budi further added that the state-owned enterprises asset reached 8,000 trillion rupiah. The asset is bigger than the government's asset, which is only 6,000 trillion rupiah. Jakarta, Wicky Adrian for IDX Channel.
Moving on to state-owned oil and gas company Pertamina. Nika Widiawati, as the Pertamina's president director, said that currently Pertamina has managed to implement the single price fuel policy in 243 locations in 2020.
The director of Pertamina, Nika Widiawati, said that the company is targeting to implement the single price fuel policy in 490 locations in 2024. Nika said that currently Pertamina has managed to implement the single price fuel policy in 243 locations in 2020. The number equals to 49.59% of the intended target. These may bring advantages for people that live in a low income, so if previously people with low income in the locations must buy fuel in the high prices, but now the price is the same. Nika asserted that the target is in accordance with the government's instructions.
Energi berkeadilan yang ditetapkan oleh pemerintah ini sudah mulai dijalankan. Dan targetnya sampai dengan 2024 ada 490 lokasi yang akan dibangun oleh Pertamina.
To the single price fuel policy, Nika admitted that 7,500 gas stations will not be enough to distribute fuel to 77 villages in Indonesia. And therefore, Pertamina is introducing a Petra Shop or the mini gas stations program. Jakarta, Wicky Adrian, IDX Channel.
Market headlines. We'll be right back with the news coverage regarding small medium enterprises. So stay tuned.
Pergerakan indeks harga saham gabungan sepanjang perdagangan hari ini tertekan, level 5 ribuan kembali ditinggalkan. Bagaimana analisis Anda?
Masih ada peluang turun lebih lanjut kalau misalkan regionalnya memerah, nah maka tidak tentu kemungkinan kita juga akan ketularan kan.
Dan beberapa perbankan yang diduga melakukan transaksi mencurigakan dan semoga bisa menjadi salah satu referensi untuk Anda dan seperti apa ke depannya.
Welcome back to Market Headlines. Indonesia's government collaborates with e-commerce players and tech firms to provide training for SMEs, and this is to boost digital inclusions and also to improve skills amid COVID-19 crisis.
The government is joining hands with e-commerce players and tech firms to provide training for small and medium enterprises or SMEs to boost digital inclusion among small businesses and to improve their skills amid the COVID-19 crisis. The Communications and Information Ministry announced on Monday a partnership with the Indonesian E-commerce Association or IDEA to roll out online classes for thousands of SMEs. The Minister of Communications and Information, Johnny Plate, said that around 9.4 million SMEs had gone online to date, closing in on the government's target of having 10 million SMEs going digital by the end of 2020. Meantime, the small businesses have been hit hard by the COVID-19 outbreak as the economy shrank by 5.32% year-on-year in the second quarter of 2020. Mandiri Institute study shows that digitalized micro, small and medium enterprises can help Indonesia significantly reduce the GDP impact of the pandemic. The study also found that MSMEs that have an online presence are more resilient. From all sources, for IDX Channel.
Yes, viewers, go digital is inevitable, including for SMEs in Indonesia. And therefore, the government continues to encourage SMEs to enter the digital ecosystem. And one of the latest effort is to collaborations with the e-commerce players and technology companies. And to find out more about it, let's directly to take a look at the first graphic. Here it is through your screen. We can see the partnership in providing online classes for SME. So we see that Ministry of Communications bolster alliance with IDEA or Indonesia E-commerce Associations. And through your screen, you can see that it rolled out online classes for 2,500 online cases for the SME. And also we can see that the classes began from October 5th to December 20th, 2020. And through your screen, we can see how both parties collaborates and make a good partnership for providing online classes for SME. And Ministry of Communications and also Informations bolster alliance with IDEA or Indonesia E-commerce Associations. And as I mentioned before, that roll out online classes for 2,500 SMEs and classes start from October to December 2020. And I would like to say that Communications and Informations Minister Johnny J. Plate revealed that the program was aimed at SMEs outside the Java, particularly those in the outermost and frontier and least developed or 3 regions. And those located in the country's 5 priority tourism destinations, including Borobudur and Central Java, Mandalika in West Nusa Tenggara, and also Lake Toba in the North Sumatra. One of the reasons delivered by the minister is that the successful cases of the SME digitalizations mostly occurred on Java Island. So the government wants the same success for SMEs all around the nations. At the same time, the government also wants to see those SMEs which are already to have digital platforms upscaling at their businesses. So as government's continuous effort to boost digitalizations, how many SMEs have actually entered the digital ecosystem? The data is on the next graphic. Here it is through your screen. We can see Indonesian small, medium, and enterprises profile. We can see through the next graphic. The total number hit 64 million. And if we can see the 64 million people, of the SMEs that go digital is 9.4 million SMEs, which is still low because it still hit the 14.6% of the total SMEs around Indonesia that I mentioned before at the 64 million SMEs. But however, government has targeted that all SMEs, the 64 million SMEs, will go digital by the end of 2020 by 10 million, which is the 15.6% of the total SMEs. So therefore, such as digital branding, soft skill development, and business financing is being gathered by the government. And meantime, the Ministry Accessibility Agency Director, Anang Latif, ensures that the program would take in 6,500 applicants for the first phase. If the current participants' businesses showed improvement, the second batch would be in the pipeline for the next year. He also added that going digital is inevitable, so that the government wants SMEs to know how to utilize online platform to prepare themselves for 5G era, when the internet connections will be served better. And with the large number of SME in Indonesia, as I mentioned before, 64 million SMEs, how large is the contributions of SMEs in Indonesia's gross domestic product up to now? Let's move on to the next graphic. Yes, viewers, through the next graphic, we can see SMEs' contributions to GDP. In 2016, the number is still on the level of 57.17%. Moving on to 2017, the number went lower a little bit to be the number of 57.07%. But however, in 2018, we can see the turning table of a 60%, and 2019 still the same in the range of 16% of the GDP. But however, government just stated that in 2020, government has set a target contributions of the small medium enterprises to our gross domestic product, or 61%. That's very interesting on how Indonesia economy relies on heavily on small businesses, which account for more than 60% of gross domestic product, or GDP, and employ a majority of labor force. And currently, the small businesses have been hit hard by COVID-19 outbreak, as the economy shrank by 5.32% year-on-year and second quarter of this year. And regarding this, a Mandiri Institute study shows that digitalized micro, small, medium enterprises, or MSME, can help Indonesia significantly reduce the GDP impact of the pandemic. The study also found that MSMEs that have an online presence are more resilient, and as they are more likely to continue producing and selling goods and to have a longer runway to survive the health crisis. And not only conduct partnership with e-commerce players, the government also collaborate with world's giant tech firms. Let's check the information through the next graphic. Through the next graphic, we can see collaborations in providing trainings for SMEs. So Ministry of Trade with Facebook provided online classes on how to utilize Facebook and Instagram. And through your screen, also we can see that these both stakeholders make a shopping festival for those SMEs collaborated on that. And also this will be conducted between Facebook and our minister from October 2020 to January 2021. And in short, Trade Minister Agus Suparmanto said that through collaborations, the local SMEs are expected to attain new skills and new knowledge to survive, grow, and expand their market through online platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and also WhatsApp. And this is which known as one of the biggest worldwide tech firms. But then, yes, not only hold online classes on how to utilize Facebook and Instagram for businesses, the ministry and Facebook will also hold an online bazaar via Instagram. Interesting, right? Meanwhile, regarding these collaborations, Facebook Indonesia's public policy head, Ruben Hattari, stated that Facebook Indonesia acknowledged that adopting digital platform is not easy, as there are still many groups of people that have not been able to maximize digital services usage. And this is the reason why Facebook Indonesia launched this program, which aims to help accelerate the SME's digital transformations. And yes, viewers, we hope all governments' effort in boosting digitalization for SMEs will deliver a larger positive impact for all parties, including the society, and of course, to be able to contribute more to the national economy. Market headlines will be right back, so stay tuned.
Bagaimana outlook UMKM di 2020 ini, Pak Leona?
Saya ingin mengajak terutama anak-anak muda bagaimana caranya supaya nantinya ini bisa berkooperasi dengan baik. Dan ini sudah dimulai.
Senang sekali saya David San Oval dan dapat hadir menemani Anda dalam program spesial dialog webinar on TV.
Setiap minggunya kita akan membahas tema-tema yang sangat menarik. Apa kabar ibu-ibu sekalian?
Alhamdulillah baik.
Salah satu ambisi daripada Kementerian Koperasi dan UMKM bersama Spesco adalah koperasi keren, baru, digital gitu kan, yang kita bisa IT.
Saya Prisa Sombo membawakan program berita News Screen yang menghadirkan informasi seputar ekonomi maupun juga bisnis dari dalam negeri.
Adi akan ada proyek bikin hunian atau tempat tinggal?
Konsepnya adalah membawa kemudahan masyarakat sekitar Jakarta untuk bekerja di pusat kota. Total saat ini Adik Komputer Property mengembangkan 11 titik ya. Kalau Mas baru beli sekarang mungkin udah ke 3.000 sekian pembeli.
Kita bisa mulai merasakan fase 1 di tahun berapa?
Di tahun 2021.
Yes, viewers, let's deep dive into our capital market current conditions. Let's start it from the Jakarta Composite Index intraday movement. So earlier today, JCR was opened at a level of 4,976.57, and then approaching the closing time of the first session. The index was on the level of 4,967.65, and the index was showing strengthening trend by the second session's closing time. So therefore, in the end of the trading day, index was closed at a level of 5,004.32. And in short, JCI went up 0.1% and become so heroic in the end of the trade day. And next, we are going to see the sectoral movement. Leading the dynamic of today's trading, we got consumer goods as the leader of the strengthening trend that went up 0.63%, manufacturer that went up 0.48%, and we got constructions as the leader of the weakening trend that went down 1.56%, and trade went down 0.56%. And next, moving on to the top gainers and the top losers, here are the key highlights for today's trading sessions. BBCA went up 0.96% to the level of 28,775 per share. And BMRI, still from the banking sector, that went up 0.91% to the level of 5,550 per share. And we got MDKA that went up 2.08% to the level of 1,715 per share. And Bull went up 5.41% to the level of 312 per share. And meantime, for the top losers for today's trading, we got BBRI from the banking sector that went down 2.19% to the level of 3,120 rupiah per share. MNCN that went down 4.27%. And then we got ZINC that went down 1.6% to the level of 123 rupiah per share, and also BRPT that went down 2.29% to the level of 855. And step aside from the capital market, next we are going to see the intraday movement of rupiah towards US dollar. So rupiah opened at a level of 14,784. Rupiah was also showing strengthening trend towards US dollar. I was closed at a level of 14,712. In summary, rupiah went up 0.07%. And yes, viewers, Waskita Karya just got loan facility from Bank Negara Indonesia worth 2 trillion rupiah. The funds will be used for settlement of bonds.
On the disclosure of information provided by Waskita Karya, the interest for BNI loan facility hit 9.5% with a tenure of 6 months from the date of the loan agreement. The loan agreement was signed on October 2nd, 2020. The background for the loan agreement between Waskita Karya and BNI is for the settlement of bonds due to October 6, 2020 and October 16, 2020. So far, Waskita Karya has made payments for the sustainable bonds first phase Series A in 2017 worth 1.37 trillion rupiah. And currently, this state-owned company is also preparing funds for the repayment of sustainable bonds second phase in 2015 worth 1.15 trillion rupiah. From all sources, IDX Channel.
Pharmaceutical SOE Kimia Pharma revealed that the state capital injection fund of 2 trillion rupiah, which will be obtained by next year, will be used to procure domestic drug production facilities.
Pharmaceutical SOE Kimia Pharma has revealed plans related to the use of state capital injection or PMN funds that will be obtained next year. Kimia Pharma President Director Ferdi Budidarmo said that the company plans to use the funds to procure domestic drug production facilities. In a joint hearing meeting with Commission 6 of House of Representatives, Kimia Pharma's President Director said that the use of state equity, including for injecting raw material companies, is around 256 billion rupiah. Ferdi explained that investment in terms of capital participation in pharmaceutical raw material companies provides a greater opportunity to reduce the import rate that has been high so far. On the other hand, Kimia Pharma stated that the company would cooperate with Pertamina in the manufacture of paracetamol raw materials, which is based on the position of paracetamol in the importation of medicinal raw materials in Indonesia, was ranked second with a contribution of 3.8% or 1.7 trillion rupiah. From all sources for IDX Channel.
And yes, viewers, step aside for market conditions as coronavirus pandemic takes a big role on current economic situations. Here it is an update data about coronavirus globally. And the news close our market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, Your Trustworthy Economic Business and Capital Market Channel. I'm Claranta Wijaya. Have a nice evening and stay safe.
pemirsa IDX Channel, sekarang Anda menyaksikan Women's Talk. Memasuki era digital, tentunya perkembangan dunia IT semakin berkembang pesat. Dan beberapa industri seperti web development dan juga digital agencies menjadi hal yang sangat diminati dan dibutuhkan di berbagai belahan dunia. Nah sekarang, Women's Talk akan mengajak Anda untuk berbincang lebih jauh terkait dengan hal ini dengan CEO dari salah satu digital-based company di Indonesia, yaitu bubu.com. CEO-nya adalah seorang perempuan yang sangat tangguh, yaitu Ibu Shinta Danuwardoyo. Ya baik pemirsa, sekarang saya sudah bersama CEO dari bubu.com, yaitu Ibu Shinta Danuwardoyo. Halo Ibu Shinta, apa kabar?
Halo, apa kabar?
Iya.
Nice meeting you.
Ya, nice meeting you as well. Nah, Ibu Shinta Danuwardoyo atau terkenal sebagai Shinta Bubu. Pertanyaannya, kenapa namanya Bubu?
Biar ditanya.
Biar ditanya. Good questions.
Ya, jadi sebenarnya kalau waktu itu kita pas mulai tahun 96 itu, we can actually pilih any domain name. Jadi waktu itu saya harus memilih nama yang pendek, gampang diingat. Terus kalau diketik orang nggak salah spelling, jadi bubu.com gitu. Cuman sebenarnya itu nama anjing saya.
Your dog inspires you a lot. I see.
Tapi kita mencari nama yang gampang dan unik dan pasti ditanya kan?
Oke, make sense. In a sense juga, apa benar Ibu ketika Ibu merintis perusahaan yang sebesar ini, jadinya Ibu tidak memiliki background IT. Bagaimana Ibu akhirnya bisa jump in ke bidang IT ini?
Ya, sebenarnya memang saya tidak ada background IT sama sekali. Tapi waktu saya ambil S1 di arsitektur di University of Oregon itu, saya memang sudah mulai menggunakan komputer untuk menggambar. Jadi waktu itu kita pakai Macintosh, which is Apple sekarang, untuk menggambar. Jadi itu sih mulanya saya mengenal komputer. Nah, waktu saya decide untuk ngambil S2, which is di Business Management, jadi MBA, bapak saya waktu itu bilang, ya udah kamu kalau mau ambil MBA harus cari cara untuk dapat semacam beasiswa. So kebetulan di Portland University itu ada program yang kita bisa kerja untuk either sama profesor atau di computer lab dan kita digaji dan dibayarin uang sekolahnya gitu. Jadi makanya saya waktu itu mikir ya udah deh saya harus bisa cari cara dapat semacam beasiswa itu. Akhirnya saya enroll untuk menjadi supervisor di computer lab. Padahal saya nggak ada background IT-nya, saya juga sebenarnya cuma bisa pakai komputer untuk menggambar. Nah, tapi mungkin itu sih kelebihannya karena saya bisa pakai Macintosh-nya untuk menggambar, makanya saya diterima waktu itu jadi supervisor. Nah, disitulah saya banyak belajar tentang internet karena waktu tahun 94 internet sudah mulai di Amerika. And ya, saya waktu melihat yang namanya website itu kayak terkagum-kagum sih. I was like, ini gila juga ya kita bisa buka website. Misalnya saya waktu itu di Amerika dan saya bisa bilang sama teman saya, buka dong halaman ini, dan dia bisa melihat hal yang sama persis sama saya.
Pada tahun berapa itu Bu?
94-95 lah.
I see.
Ya, jadi disitulah saya melihat bahwa saya ngerasa kedepannya nih internet nih bukan hal yang kecil, dia akan bisa besar dan meledak. Dan selama saya kerja di computer lab itu saya juga memulai secara otodidak belajar membuat website itu melalui internet. So that was the early years of e-learning.
And you fell in love.
Yes,
directly.
I fell in love dengan yang namanya internet karena saya ngerasa ini potensinya besar sekali, itu sih.
I see. Bagaimana dengan respon orang tua Anda ketika mengetahui bahwa anaknya yang mungkin soon to be architect dan MBA student jump in ke bidang IT?
Sebenarnya saya waktu pulang ke Indonesia saya sempat kerja dulu di sebuah consultant management untuk 1,5 tahun. Cuman saya setiap pulang dari kantor saya pasti lari ke depan komputer saya dan mulai bikin-bikin website. Itu sih mungkin dari situ saya jatuh cinta dan saya bilang saya kayaknya mau bikin perusahaan yang membuat website. Jadi awalnya memang kita web development company. Orang tua saya, of course, mereka sih pengennya saya kerja more established company kan. Cuman ya namanya passion, and my parents juga akhirnya support gitu ya. Udah kalau misalnya pengen jadi entrepreneur, ya udah kita support. Cuman ya berdarah-darahnya lama banget.
Oh, I see. Tadi Ibu sempat mention bahwa bubu.com memang awalnya web development.
Yes.
Sekarang masih di bidang web development atau sudah
berubah.
Oh iya.
Ya, definitely kita sudah evolve ya. Di 2006 kita menjadi digital agency, one of the early player di Indonesia juga. Tapi sekarang kita juga banyak sekali membangun inovasi-inovasi baru di dalam perusahaan sendiri. Jadi kita semacam venture builders. Kita ada yang namanya startupindonesia.co, which is a platform untuk membantu mengkoneksi semua startup ekosistem yang ada di Indonesia agar kita juga bisa membantu bukan hanya startup di Jakarta tapi seluruh Indonesia. Jadi kita pengen membuat atau memberi equal access untuk semua startup di Indonesia untuk bisa bertemu dengan mentors, bisa ketemu dengan angel investors, bisa terkoneksi dengan incubators, venture capitals dan lain-lain. Kita juga memulai sejak tahun lalu kita memulai namanya Bubu Gaming, which is kita masuk ke dalam dunia e-sports, which is gaming. Nah di situ kita melihat karena potensi dari anak-anak muda ini sangat besar dan gamers di Indonesia sudah 65 juta, so we have to be in e-sports. Kita juga mempunyai sebuah divisi yang membantu banyak kolaborasi namanya LabX,